everyone, I'm Janine Malone.
And I'm Kristen Ciccolini.
And you're listening to It's Just a Phase. Each week we'll bring you inspiring and informative conversations about honoring the different cycles of life, covering topics of health and wellness, moon phases, astrology, witchcraft, feminism, and more so you can superpower your well-being and live your best life.
How's Virgo season treating you?
Ugh, Kristen, I love Virgo season. I mean, I feel like I don't even have to ask how you feel about it, but how's your Virgo season?
Pretty good, getting organized as one does during Virgo season.
Yes. Crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's.
Yeah, just getting your shit together. It feels really good.
Ugh, it really, it really does. I feel like I'm luxuriating in it. So I hope that everyone listening is having, especially now that we're kind of like mid-month, we're nearing actually the kind of the end of Virgo season. So I hope everyone's found their groove and is, finding that nicer, more sustainable pace that I think we tend to be looking for come the end of summer.
Time flies when you're having fun making spreadsheets. And I've made several this week, so gotta organize my work,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, speaking of work, I know we're going to talk a lot about your magic specifically today, but any other fun upcoming things to tell the folks about?
Yes. So it's going to sort of like build on the topics that we've been talking about, but I'm going to host a workshop on September 30th. It's called The Patriarchy versus Your Body.
Ooh, yes.
Juicy.
So juicy.
We're going to talk about all the ways our health and hormones are impacted by the patriarchy, the lack of education around menstruators' bodies, and how that's influenced by the patriarchy, and basically how to take back your reproductive freedom and superpower your cycle.
I mean, no big deal.
Exciting.
Just like rewire my brain, please.
And I haven't like fully announced it yet. So podcast friends, you're getting a little sneak peek. But if you want to sign up early, you can do that. It's goodwitchkitchen.net/workshop.
Easy peasy. I'll be there. I can't wait.
Yay. What about you? I know you've got some exciting new things going on.
I do. Yeah. So again, like no full announcements really yet, but on the equinox, I'm finally getting to relaunch my website, which I've been working on for quite some time now. I'm so excited. Shout out to Megan Kane, who is my designer and like just design dream girl, because she takes all the ramblings of my mind and makes them into something functional. So love you, Megan, if you're listening. So that'll be really exciting, and it's going to have a lot of resources all specifically around the energy of fall and how to really work with that like reflective, analytical time. And I also have a surprise new project that will be launching in congruence with that. So I'm excited. Can't say too much yet, but next week you'll hear a lot more, and I'm truly pumped. Like, keeping this secret has been hard. I want to talk about all the things, as everyone can probably tell by every little tiny seed that I've been planting this season, but yeah, it's finally happening.
It's like all unfolding throughout the episode. So everyone that's been with us, they can, celebrate with us, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like what better time than like, Virgo season and moving into that fall energy. Like, it just feels very aligned, and I'm really excited. So feeling it, just kind of getting through those last few weeks of spreadsheets and details, and I'm very happy to have Virgo on my side.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing all of it. I'm really excited for you because I know what it is and no one else does.
Yes, you do. Thank God, because if I could tell no one, I would have truly exploded by now. No doubt.
Oh, well, so today we're going to be talking about seed cycling. So this will have to do with menstrual cycle and your hormone health. But before we get to that, it is time for the cosmic update. What's happening this week?
Well, speaking of Virgo, we've got our new moon in Virgo this Thursday. So that's September 17th. And so, new moons, as you all know by this point, are a time for setting intentions, for resting. And with the moon and the sun in Virgo, it's really a great time to be thinking about structures, goals, processes, pace, all that good stuff, all that, you know, really thoughtful, intentional, progressive action that we can be taking.
It's funny that all of like in the time of rest, we're thinking about like getting organized and thinking about your goals and that like for people who aren't Virgos, I feel like that might stress them out a little bit to be thinking of all this stuff while they're resting. But
Totally.
if that does feel stressful to you, I would say try to look at it as a way to support yourself so that when you do have to get moving on these things, you have a plan. And that way, it might take a little bit of work now, not full, complete rest, but at least, moving forward, you're not going to be going nuts because you didn't have that plan in place.
Yeah. And the question that I'm kind of asking around this new moon is um what does success look like for me? You know what
Mm.
I mean? Like I think
Hmm.
we have all these expectations of like what a project or what, fulfillment or a life or abundance or whatever it is we're working on looks like, from a pretty patriarchal standpoint, but I think the new moon in Virgo is a great time to reconnect with like what is enough for you and what is success for you emotionally, financially. And kind of being in that space is a great way, I think, to tap in.
Yeah, I love that. And it's probably not going to be on there. Instagram.
Yo, your girl is done.
Yeah. I really want to be done with it, but I also like maybe once I launch my new program and like after that's all out into the world, then I'll like quit for a little bit.
Yeah, I will say, yeah, I've been setting some serious boundaries and it
Mm.
definitely feels good. And I don't actually miss out on anything so far,
Hmm.
But whatever. That's a convo for a different day. But either way, like making sure that you have support for resting this week. Obviously, from the sounds of it, we both could use a little reminder to rest as well. So, because the new moon's later in the week, we're kind of entering the week with a waning moon, moving into a dark moon. So, really spending some time in that deep self care, in like truly take a nap, take a bath, take a walk. I wish I had something else that rhymed with that.
Yeah,
Take a
I would
lap.
if you if you have trouble like reminding yourself to do those kinds of things, I would follow the Nap Ministry on
Mm,
Twitter, Instagram, wherever you want to follow them. There it's just like constant reminders to slow down and be kind to yourself. And I feel like I mean, you listen to us all the time and we need constant reminders and we're always thinking about this kind of stuff. So
yeah.
it's like we really need that like front and center. So that's a good account to follow if social media doesn't stress you out right now.
Yeah, totally. And something actually I recently learned from Shauna, who works with me, is like the idea of a structure, which is kind of a funny name for it, but basically like picking something, either like you can put a note up somewhere or pick a particular like piece of jewelry or something that like when you look at it, it's like a physical reminder to like take a deep breath or to like reconnect with, I don't know, kind of like your intention for the day or for the month or whatever. And I found that really helpful because like it's kind of like tying a string around your finger to remember something.
Hmm.
And I feel like especially when it comes to rest, like having something that when I look at it I'm like, oh right, drink water, or like, oh right, put your phone down, can be really helpful. So whatever little reminders, breadcrumbs you can leave for yourself, can be really helpful.
Yeah, I love that.
And we are in our last full week of summer, if you can believe
No.
it. So before you go ordering your pumpkin spice latte and layering on the sweaters, this is a great week to finalize some creative projects, which we are both trying to do, and have a little fun. Try to enjoy this bridge moment. I like love the little in between times between seasons. So you can think about like when summer meets fall, we've got fire meeting water, so it can feel a lot like sweet relief. Like we've been burning pretty hot and moving pretty fast. So kind of allowing yourself to shed, to unwind, do something, just for the hell of it. Again, whether that's restful or something that's just like fun and restorative, this is the moment.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready for fall, especially because we're not going to get like a real Halloween this year.
Yeah.
No
Are
spooky
you a Halloween
season.
person?
Oh, yeah, I am.
Oh, yeah.
I love going to Salem, and I mean, not I have
Yeah.
been to Salem on Halloween, and it is absolutely outrageous. But I just love going in October, like on a weekday when it's not super busy. Or I mean, I love going all the time,
Yeah.
but I also just love it at that season because it's just so fun, and everyone around there has fun with it. And we're not going to get that this
Totally.
year.
I know. It is gonna feel strange.
Yeah. And I also saw an article that was like, this winter, we still need to embrace being outside with friends. And I'm like, sorry to my friends, I'm not going to see anybody outside in the
Yeah,
cold.
just like bye.
All right, back to FaceTime. No thanks.
Unless, yeah, like unless someone I know like builds a humongous like hot tub where we can like socially distance outside in
Yeah,
the snow, but I'm in a hot tub, that's the absolutely only way you're getting me to hang out with you outside.
yeah, same.
I'm not a skier or anything like that.
No, no, I have stories, but all you need to know is I am not a skier. So yeah,
Ugh,
this week I need to embrace the final moments of summer and accept that fall is here. I love fall, but
yes.
I love to hold on to like all that warmth as much as possible.
Yeah, totally. Totally. So what are we I'm really excited actually to talk about this. I feel like I'm getting to like be our listeners and just like totally learn from you today. So today Kristen's going to teach us all about seed cycling, which is
Yes.
like so exciting.
Yeah, so this is something that's been really popular in my little corner of the internet. We'll be talking about seed cycling. It's a if you've never heard of it, it's a gentle nutrition-based method for helping balance your hormones. And a few weeks ago, I wrote a blog about it, and people were super curious. It was being shared a lot. I had a lot of questions about it. I even had someone message me say that they were on their way to the grocery store immediately after she read it.
Oh my god, I
And I was
love
like, I
that.
love you. So we decided to include it in our coverage of different types of cycles on the pod. So especially because it can be helpful for your menstrual cycle. So just a little background on this. Part of holistic wellness is really understanding that everything in the body is connected. So hormones, they affect many other areas of your health. And when this delicate balance is thrown off for some reason, there are many reasons it can be thrown off. Your body's way of telling you that can be through PMS symptoms, painful periods, fatigue, low energy, mental distress, digestive issues, insomnia, infertility, like as you can tell, many things.
Yeah.
So
Just a few.
yeah, and a lot of them you may not even realize that it could be connected to your hormones. So
Totally.
my approach to health focuses on getting to the root of the problem with culinary nutrition. So if you don't know what that means, go back to the episode where Janine interviewed me and I talk about what culinary nutrition is. But for getting your hormones back in balance, seed cycling can be a really powerful way to use whole foods to improve your well-being. Janine, have you, I mean, before you started talking with me about it, have you ever heard of seed cycling before?
I have only because as we all know, the two of us are obsessed with talking about periods. So I have read about it. I've never actually tried it myself, and I've definitely been interested to. So who better to learn from?
Well, I'm going to be doing a lot of talking today, so buckle up.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm ready.
Awesome. Yeah, so some people call it seed rotation. I'll be referring to it as seed cycling, but it uses four types of seeds in a strategic way, and that helps support the production of your main reproductive hormone, so estrogen and progesterone. And this conversation, it'll be focused on people who menstruate. So that's the main context here because that's who I typically work with. But you can use this no matter what stage of life you're in. So whether you do get your period or if you're menopausal, postmenopausal, if you've had a hysterectomy, this will all be good for you. However, if you have had a total hysterectomy with your ovaries removed, then seed cycling won't offer the same benefits for hormone balance, although they're still very nutritious, so no harm in including them in your diet.
True.
Yeah. But before I share how you do it exactly, I want to talk a little bit about what a normal menstrual cycle looks like so you can sort of judge whether yours is off or not. And everyone's cycle is different. But we do like to compare it to the lunar cycle, which is around 28 days because that makes it nice and easy, fits in a little box nice and cleanly. But truly, a normal, healthy period can be anywhere from 25 to 35 days as long as it's consistent month to month for you. So if you
Mm,
have 1 month where you're 25 days and the next month you're 35, then that's different from just regularly having like 25-day cycles. Um, so Janine, I know you've been tracking your cycle for quite a while. I was curious how long you've been tracking your cycle and if you were on birth control before, like what has that looked like for you?
yeah, totally. So yeah, I've been tracking probably for like maybe 2 years at this point, like pretty consistently. I've had like apps and stuff before that, but I haven't always been, you know, the best user. Um, so I'd say probably I've been tracking for like 2 years consistently, and I am not on birth control, so I'm having a natural cycle, I guess. And I really love that you said that about like kind of like normalizing like what is a normal menstrual cycle, because I was feeling super stressed originally, like, which is why I started tracking in the first place, because I actually have a pretty long cycle, like TMI, but it's like 35 days long. So I always thought that that was like not okay. And it used to really stress me out. And of course, like, I wasn't on birth control. So the stress is also like,
It makes your
is
cycle
there a
even
baby up
longer.
in here?
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, is there a baby here? And second of all, yeah, like then you're just stressed out and it just gets longer. So that's been really helpful for me to just understand that like that is normal, because I definitely grew up thinking it was like 28 to 30 days was a normal cycle. And by grew up I mean like into my late 20s. So yeah, that's been really really helpful. And like I haven't been on the pill or anything since I was like 21 or 22. So I am not totally sure if I would say that I have a regulated period now, but it's definitely gotten better and I understand it better. But I've definitely started to notice like what my cycle is sensitive to, like stress or eating and exercise. And that's kind of what makes me super interested in seed cycling in general. Like, is this something that could help kind of make make my cycle not so sensitive?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, any symptoms that are coming along with your cycle. Also, I mean, obviously, stress, reducing your stress is going to be a major thing to do if you want to regulate it a little bit more. But
So you're telling me these seeds won't do that for me.
the seeds will not make you chill out, but
Cool.
but it can be helpful. Yeah, so the purpose of the menstrual cycle, it's to prepare the body for pregnancy, whether you want it or not. But that doesn't mean if you don't want to get pregnant, that a healthy cycle doesn't matter. So, like I said, your hormones, everything's connected. It's all interconnected in the body. So, this is the one way, or this is just one way that we can assess how well things are going. You have two main phases. So we've talked about the phases before. We've mentioned them several times, and usually you know that we split them up into fours. So the follicular phase, ovulatory phase, luteal phase, and menstrual phase. For seed cycling purposes, we're just going to focus on the two halves of your cycle. So the first half, the follicular phase, and the second half, the luteal phase. As a high level view of what happens, I'm not going to go into like super detail about it because not super necessary for this conversation, but in the follicular phase at the beginning of your cycle, estrogen increases to build up and thicken the lining of the womb, so otherwise known as uterine lining or the endometrium. And it does this to prepare to um, make a home for a potential egg. And when the egg,
Get its
well,
little apartment ready.
exactly. I, I was going to say host, but I don't like seeing the body as like a host. And also now I'm picturing the lamp from I Dream of Jeannie where she had
Oh
that
my
like
god,
beautiful
yes.
pink inside.
That's actually exactly what my uterus looks like.
Yeah, nice and
Just
bedazzled
the
and
little yeah, exactly. There's a
velvet
pink
and
velvet couch in there. It's really nice.
perfect. Well, when okay. Well, when the egg is released from its follicle, so your follicle is what holds the egg until it's ready to be released. It travels to the fallopian tube and hangs out there for 12 to 24 hours. And if you've had sex recently, there may be some sperm, just chilling there waiting to fertilize the egg. But meanwhile, estrogen and progesterone during ovulation increase and continue to thicken the lining of the uterus. And then in the luteal phase, so the second half, this is where PMS symptoms arise. Progesterone peaks. So this is the hormone that's essential for a healthy pregnancy. So progesterone, progestation. But if the egg isn't fertilized, progesterone isn't needed anymore because there's no pregnancy to help along. So it drops, and then that triggers bleeding, which is the shedding of the uterine lining that was built up to host that pregnancy. Are you still with me? I know that's like some fun sciencey stuff.
No, I think that's really helpful because again, like I feel like so many women go so long without even understanding that like cycle, you
Did
know?
that all make
So
sense?
makes total sense to me.
Okay. So, with a hormonal imbalance, you might experience some symptoms throughout the cycle. So, ovarian pain, period cramps, bloating, acne, headaches, irritability, cravings, mood swings, all that fun stuff that we're all so familiar with. And that's to say, PMS symptoms are indicative of a hormonal imbalance and not a part of a normal menstrual cycle. So, just because we are all familiar with those things doesn't mean that it's the way it's supposed to work. It's just we haven't learned that there's a whole other way to live.
Yeah, so like can we talk about that for a second because I mean, I think that even the fact that that group of symptoms has kind of been branded by whomever, by the patriarchy as like those are just period symptoms, like it's
Mm.
just what happens when you get your period. Like what I'm hearing you say is that it's actually indicative that there could be an imbalance, not that that's like just what a period is. Like you just get acne and you just do bloat and you just have cravings and are irritable and that's just the way it is. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So normal menstrual cycle, there should be little to no symptoms. And
Wow.
yeah, just like mild cramping. So I say this a lot and you've heard me say this a lot, but I 100% believe that period pain and PMS symptoms are a tool of the patriarchy to keep you down. And that's basically what my workshop is about.
Hell yeah.
But they want you in pain. They want you taking days off from work. They want you to have your mood swings. That way they can pay you less and call you hysterical. And
Sick.
yeah, great.
Thanks, guys.
And it's like it's a top-down problem. The patriarchy
Yeah.
rules our education too. So what we've learned is that it's just supposed to suck. We're just supposed to feel awful. That's our lot in
Mm.
life. But like I said, symptoms with a normal cycle shouldn't be anything more than just mild cramping.
Wow. Okay. That's like kind of blowing my mind. So, like on that note, I guess, like are there any sort of like telltale signs of which hormones are out of balance like when you get certain symptoms because, for example, if someone has like whatever, like acne when they're ovulating but then they're like bloating later in their cycle, like are there kind of clear ways to sort of like not self-diagnose but sort of like get an example?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, it'd be difficult for someone who doesn't know this stuff well to self-diagnose because there's
Sure.
so many different ways that potential issues can happen or what can be caused from a certain hormone being off balance. But some examples like low estrogen, that could be like if you miss your period or if you have really, really light periods, that could be
Mm.
a symptom of low estrogen. Heavy bleeding or blood clots, a lot of that can be high estrogen. So there's lots of different ways. And then another one that I think a lot of people experience is the brown spotting before your full flow starts. Like maybe the day before you really actually get your period, you're noticing some. I mean, TMI, sorry, but
No,
if you're
whatever.
yeah, I mean, you guys are used to it by now. But
Yeah.
if you're getting like brown spots or any spotting like that before your actual full flow starts, that's leftover blood from your last cycle, and that's a symptom of low progesterone. So, there's different symptoms, different things that they could be pointed to. It's not necessarily like only one thing that's going on. So that's why, I mean, it's good to work with someone who knows your personal situation, but those are just some examples.
Yeah, that's really helpful because, like you said, like it's just really interesting to think of if periods aren't just bad and there's like all these different symptoms, it's like then all of those symptoms can give us information, which is really cool and kind of puts us back in the driver's seat of our health, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
what we want, right?
Exactly. And also, I mean, nutrient deficiencies can also
Mm,
cause issues with symptoms. Like something that just popped in my head because I was having a conversation about this earlier was that when you have like really bad cramps, your uterus is a muscle too, you know? So when you think about like muscle cramps, if you have a magnesium deficiency, like that could be an issue where, it's cramping a little too much. Or another thing that can happen is as your uterus contracts, it helps expel the blood. And that that motion can also, like, it's right up against your digestive tract, so that's where like diarrhea during your period or PMS can come from. So there's lots of different things that are happening, and it's not all hormone related. It can be.
right.
So yeah, just if you're keeping track of all these symptoms, bring them to someone who understands what they're talking about that can help you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, okay. So, how are we seed cycling? I'm bought in. How do I do it?
So you'll need pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, sunflower seeds, and sesame seeds. And these are all high in omega-3 fatty acids and vitamin E, which are really nourishing and supportive of follicle and hormone production. And remember what I said, your follicles are where your eggs live before they're released into ovulation. So we want to support that. So the first 2 weeks, so day 1 to 14, you'll start the day you get your period, and you take 1 tablespoon of pumpkin seeds and 1 tablespoon of flax seeds per day. And the reason for this, pumpkin seeds are rich in zinc, which support ovarian function and progesterone production, while flax seeds have what's called lignans, and those help regulate estrogen production.
Mm.
And then the next 2 weeks, days 15 to 28, you take 1 tablespoon each of sunflower seeds and sesame seeds. And you can totally have more here too. Like, by the way, if you want more than a tablespoon throughout the day, that's fine. There's
If
like,
any birds are listening.
there's no cap to what you can have. I'll put a bird feeder out for you. But sesame seeds also contain those lignans.
I'm just like literally imagining a bird feeder like in my kitchen.
I mean, if that's how you want to get your seeds, that's how you can get your seeds. Just stick your face right up to it. Yeah. Anyway.
God.
So yeah, so sesame seeds also contain lignans that bind to excess estrogen, and then sunflower seeds contain selenium, and that's an important mineral for hormone health that supports your liver in detoxifying any excess hormones.
Ooh, okay, cool. So actually when I first heard about seed cycling, I think that it was just when I was reading about it was flax and sesame. Maybe I think that that's right. But I hadn't heard until I read your blog post and we started talking about it about pumpkin and sunflower as additional. So like can you tell me about the additional benefits of like the double seed?
Yeah, so I mean, all of these seeds are similar, but they have different properties that also help you throughout your cycle. So pumpkin seeds are a
Cool.
good source of iron. So if you have an iron deficiency, if your periods are really heavy, there's an additional benefit there. Sunflower seeds can be a good skin food. So if you have some issues with skin around your cycle, the copper within them helps your body make collagen. So that's a good vegan source. I know people ask me for like vegan collagen a lot, and
Oh,
collagen is part of
interesting.
the body, so it can never be vegan. But what you can do is eat foods that help your body naturally make collagen, and then foods with copper would be one of them, and that's sunflower seeds.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. And they also have B vitamins that support your energy and your nervous system. So if the latter half of your cycle makes you feel fatigued or maybe frazzled and anxious, B vitamins can be helpful there.
Okay, amazing. I want all of those benefits. I would like all of those things, please. Um, so Speaking of birds, how are we eating these seeds? Like, I think this is where I was like, "Ooh, that sounds very interesting." And then I was like, "Well, I don't know what the only way I could really think of was like a smoothie." So like what kind of form should these guys be in? Do we have to eat them whole? What's the vibe?
You just peck them out of your bird feeder.
Yeah. My kitchen bird feeder that I just set up. I don't understand how a squirrel keeps getting into it.
Well, they can be in whole seed form. I don't recommend it, but I mean, if you chew well, you can do that. But
Okay.
sometimes, I mean, the seeds can be really small. So flax and sesame,
Ooh.
Ooh, Freudian slip. Flax and sesame are really tiny, so it can be hard to chew well. Um,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
totally.
you can also have them in their oil forms. And
Oh.
I actually recommend just grinding the whole seed. So if you have a coffee or a spice grinder, grind them before you use it. Or just before, or refrigerate them if you're doing it ahead of time. And what that does is it increases the surface area for better absorption in your body because sesame and flax, like I said, those are really tiny and impossible to chew, really small. So if you don't grind them, they can just pass through your GI tract undigested. So if you do have them whole, just take a look when you're going to the bathroom to see if you can see any undigested seeds in there. I know it's gross. I'm sorry, but if you want to avoid that, if you don't want to inspect the toilet, just grind up your seeds. That's simple.
There's the solution.
Yes. I've also had clients swap in tahini for sesame seeds. If you're
Oh,
just kind
cool.
of getting sick of different ways to use it, that's an option to try to do the butter version. So, like sun butter and pumpkin butter, whatever.
Oh, smart. And so in terms of grinding them up in advance, if you choose to do that, what do you think in terms of like how much of that can you do at a time? You know what I mean? So that it doesn't lose its nutrition.
Well, if you refrigerate it, doing it just a few days ahead of time can be fine.
Okay.
Um, I do like 4 days at a time just because that's what I can fit in my grinder.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't do it for like the whole month or anything. So just a few days at
Right.
a time. I mean, it literally takes like 2 minutes.
2 seconds. Yeah,
Well, two
totally.
seconds to grind it and then to clean it. It literally is like 2 minutes. So just do it.
Just do it or look in the toilet. Your
Or look in
choice.
the toilet, whichever one you feel more comfortable doing.
Totally. So I feel like hopefully I'm not asking such idiotic questions, but like if your cycle, like mine, is longer than 28 days, would you still suggest moving to the sunflower and sesame seeds on day 15? Or how do you kind of adjust for cycle length?
No question is a bad question. But yes, you want to keep up with the rotation because it'll take some time for you to get in sync if your periods are irregular. So this will take just a little bit of extra tracking. So if you're doing this, you're likely already tracking your cycle, but just take note of the days that you need to switch so you're not losing track. So you just switch every 14 days. If your periods are regular in that they're always the same number of days, but maybe you're experiencing a lot of PMS symptoms or other symptoms throughout your cycle, then I would just adjust and add or subtract seeds as needed so that, I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that that's really helpful because that's something that when I first read about seed cycling, I was like, that sounds great, but I don't really know when I should be switching because I thought it really had to be like you're switching around ovulation. And I'm sure this method you sort of are anyways naturally, but I was very obsessed and perfectionist about like, well, I don't
Mm,
even know when that is. So that's really
yeah.
helpful.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The point is that you're trying to regulate it so you do know when it is.
Right,
Um,
exactly.
And if all of that sounds way too complicated, you can just follow the moon's phases because those never change, hopefully.
Sure.
Hopefully that never changes.
Who knows?
So it's just
2020 still has some months left.
seriously. But it's easier to do it that way if it's too confusing to try to track your own cycle.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's really helpful. So, is it worth seed cycling if you're on the pill?
Yes and no. Big question.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I feel like the hormones that you're taking with the pill sort of counteract what you're trying to do with seed cycling since when you're seed cycling you're trying to adjust the hormones in your body, but since the pill can't change like that actual balance inside of you, it's like not going to work out the same way, you
Got
know?
it. Yep.
So you're not going to be getting the same exact benefits, but you can still do it as a way to support your endocrine system. If you want to get off the pill, then definitely do this. And I'd start at least a month or so before you stop taking it, just so you can get your body it, used to a rhythm and start to support your endocrine system before you get off that pill and introduce a whole other variable.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. And just kind of like you said, I love the way you phrase that as like creating support for your endocrine system. So like you're just getting in the groove.
Yeah.
So kind of on that same piece, like you mentioned following the moon phases. So how would that work?
You would just swap out the follicular phase with the new moon and the luteal phase with the full moon. So I know based on what we've talked about before, it doesn't sound like it makes sense. But the new moon is both day one of the follicular phase and day one of your menstrual cycle. So they overlap for a couple of days. And then the luteal phase begins with ovulation, which is what we typically associate with the full moon.
Got it.
So starting on the new moon, it would be 1 tablespoon of pumpkin seeds and 1 tablespoon of flax seeds daily. And then starting on the full moon, 1 tablespoon each of sunflower and sesame seeds. And new moon is this Thursday if you want to start then.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Perfect.
Anyone looking for permission to start, you have got it.
Yeah. And you don't
Um,
have to start on the new moon either. You can literally just start wherever the moon is.
just pick a day.
Yeah.
That's really helpful. So seriously though, how the hell am I taking all of these seeds? Like I said, I thought of smoothies and that was kind of the beginning and the end of it. So I would love to hear, I'm sure you have incredible ideas of like suggestions for how to incorporate them into your days and meals and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like I said, I grind them ahead of time and keep it in the fridge, so it's just easier to quickly add it to my meals. Blending in a smoothie is like obviously the easiest way.
Sure.
Then you don't have to actually grind it ahead of time. You can just throw them in. The blender does the job for you. You can also mix them into yogurt. I've been doing that recently. You can sprinkle it on your avocado toast. You can mix it into protein bites or energy bites, whatever you want to call them, those little
Ooh,
snack balls. You can add them to oats. You can add them to granola. You can sprinkle on salad, pasta. Just try to get creative and think of, I mean, they they do have a little bit of a flavor, so I wouldn't put it in absolutely everything, but if you think that it's not going to completely alter the flavor of your meal, you can just put it on whatever you want to. And like I said, you can also use like the butter versions of these things. So if you want to drizzle tahini on your salad, or make a dressing with tahini, stuff like that, put pumpkin butter instead of almond butter on something.
such a good idea. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like there's like a lot of solutions. I mean, even just the idea of like sprinkle it on like avocado. I love the idea of like protein bites or whatever because I'm always looking for something.
Well, you can use the oil versions of these things too.
Yeah,
So, I mean, if you want to have a variety of these things around the house, so you don't always have to rely on just the seeds itself, and you want to have the oils too, like that's something you can easily add to a dressing or just stir into something, and just different ways of having it so you're not bored all the time.
right. Like stuck eating a smoothie every single morning because you're trying to get your shit right.
Yeah.
But that actually brings up one other question where like does it matter if you do it like the same time every day or what time of day you're doing it? Like is it better in the morning? Any specificity around that?
It doesn't really matter. I mean,
Okay.
you don't have to have it all at once. You can split it up throughout your meals too if you want to. So you don't have to have 2 tablespoons of seeds on your avocado toast. Like that could be a lot. So yeah, you could just split it up throughout the day. Just just getting it in as whatever works for you, because
Okay,
if
cool.
you don't want to make it too complicated, because otherwise you're not gonna keep up with it. And some people don't even like the seeds. So just trying to like force yourself to eat all of that in one go can be difficult.
Yeah, totally. And I think that that's really helpful too because it's not like you said something where you have to like be stuck with this like okay, well I have to have it first thing in the morning or like with a glass of water or whatever, like any of those kind of tips that like if you're doing this for even one full cycle would get boring, let alone
Hmm.
continuing over time.
Yeah, exactly.
So, speaking of that actually, how long until we see a difference for the most part?
So I've had clients see a difference within their first cycle of doing it. I've also had them take a few months to have it happen. So it really depends on how long you've been experiencing hormonal imbalance and also the severity of your symptoms. So I would say on average 3 to 6 months to start seeing results. But like I said, I've had people have great results just within one cycle. So
Oh, that's
it
awesome.
yeah, so, it could happen quickly, or you may just need to have a little patience with yourself, but just know that, I mean, from what I've seen, on top of seed cycling, if you're just regularly taking care of yourself and taking care of your cycle, like in the ways that we've talked about over several episodes, you will start to see improvements, maybe not like complete difference, but definitely improvements within just one cycle.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful to know. And also, like, even only a couple of cycles, like, what a huge difference if you've been living, since you started menstruating with like these symptoms and to just incorporate this like one thing into your diet to see a difference is pretty amazing.
Mhm.
Like, it's a good reminder of how powerful our bodies are, how powerful nutrition is. Like, I just think it's really cool.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we've said this before, but your cycle is kind of like a report card of how the last few weeks have gone. And not to say
Mm-hmm.
like I guess I shouldn't put it that way because I don't want to instill like any judgment on how things have gone. But it kind of shows you how well things are going. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. If I was getting a report card right now, it would not be a super high grade, but that's okay. So you've inspired me.
but the thing is, there's no final judgment on all of this,
Totally.
and every cycle is a new opportunity to keep making improvements.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That's very, very hopeful. And I mean, I think that's a great place to end. And I want to hear from our listeners if you decide to start seed cycling, if you, like me, are setting up a bird feeder in your kitchen. We want to hear it at it's just a phase pod at gmail.com. You can tag us with all the ways you're eating all these delicious seeds and the fun creative things that you're making on Instagram at it's just a phase pod. And obviously, if you like what you heard today, we'd love for you to leave us a review on iTunes. It helps people like you find our show, and we absolutely love each and every one of you. Kristen, before we wrap, you want to give people the URL for your amazing webinar workshop again?
Yes, it's goodwitchkitchen.net/workshop, and we'll be talking about the patriarchy versus your body.
Oh my God, it's going to be so good. I can't wait to be fully enraged.
Fully enraged, but then we'll also talk about how to break out of that and really focus on living cyclically and helping out your menstrual cycle. So it's not all negative.
No, exact. Of course not. But I love that you're offering a solution because I think that like this stuff can be really overwhelming. It can feel really intimidating. And I just think even this learning about seed cycling has been so helpful. So I can't wait to see what you have in your workshop and see all of our listeners there.
Yeah, and bring your pitchfork if you want to. We could use it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll probably have I usually have it close by just in case.
Yeah. Well, take it out. It'll be on September 30th. So if you can't make it then, there will be a replay, but otherwise, we hope to see you there.
Yes. See you there. And
Bye.
we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.